If you're in the trades, you're always thinking about going on your own, or at least most of us did, most of us do, and you're weighing the pros and cons and what to expect. And we did a video on that 2 years ago about what to expect, kind of what it's like. Well, we want to revisit that right now, because if you haven't jumped, you're probably getting itchy. And if you are thinking of jumping, there are some questions that you need to ask yourself and get an honest answer to before you take that great big step. So let me just throw this out, because I don't know if I mentioned it or if it's implied, but 45 years in construction, various types of construction, 20 of them on a payroll, 25 of them pretty much on my own, with all of the experiences and acquaintances and projects that one could hope for. And so I guess from that perspective, it gives me some idea maybe what I can warn you about if you're thinking about doing this. So the question maybe is not best considered, do I work for myself or not? But rather, when should I start working for myself? When would it be that I think I will be ready to generate enough cash flow to be able to float this boat? So the big question's about timing, and that is, what's the economy going to do? What is going to be, where's the demand? Where's the oversupply? What are material? There's really no way to answer that, is there? But there are some questions that you need to have an answer to when you're deciding whether now is your moment. First of all, over the last couple years, since you watched that last video, and if you didn't watch it, go watch it. How are you feeling about uncertainty? How are you feeling about whether or not you absolutely need to know where the next check is coming from? Or are you okay waiting and hoping and planning and seeing if the stars line up just right so that, the thing you need happens when you need it? It's one of the criteria. You've got to be okay with uncertainty. How are you now about understanding risks? The risk of taking a job, the risk of not taking a job, the risks associated with who you decide to work for. Have you made any progress thinking about whether or not you know enough about risk and how to manage it? It's a big part of being in business for yourself. Have you been thinking about, for the last couple years, are you any good at managing conflict? Are you adept at managing expectations and making sure people know what it's going to take for you to meet their expectations? It's a key skill in construction. Have you been thinking about that? Have you been getting better at it? Or perhaps equally importantly, have you been watching someone that doesn't know how to do that and learning from their experience? Over the last couple years, have you learned anything about how to hang on to money? Have you learned anything about how to save money for a particular purpose and really leave it alone? Now, if you have, that means you are in a better position perhaps now to start on your own than you would have been had you started then. And if you haven't, well, guess what? It probably means you're not ready to jump yet. Have you learned over the last couple years to enjoy balancing your checkbook? And the reason I ask you that, and I can hear the young people out there saying, Wadsworth, nobody balances their checkbook anymore. What I mean is, do you take any satisfaction in filing papers, in organizing your automotive receipts? Do you take any satisfaction in having all of your invoices and receipts and documentation for the tax man when you go to him before April 15th? Because if you don't yet, then you're not ready to go out on your own. And if you do, if you're beginning to get the picture on that, okay, you've got a leg up on most of your competition. How about this? Over the last couple years, have you met, or do you know, or are you aware of a good attorney? Or how about this? An attorney that you can talk to that can help you write contracts, that can give you some boilerplate and point out the issues that need to be addressed in a contract that a young contractor starts with, and what the rules are in your state about what needs to be included in your contract. If you haven't, if you don't know, you probably aren't ready to jump. And then the last one, before we switch around to some of the questions on the other side of the ledger, is, have you learned over the last couple of years to communicate effectively with the people below you in the food chain, with the people above you in the food chain, with the people whose expectations you're responsible to meet day by day by day? How are you doing with communication? These are important questions. And if you can't answer them objectively, find someone that can help you do that. All right, now here's some things to think about over the last 2 years that also need an answer. And it's because of this. People don't quit jobs. They quit bosses. Now perhaps that instantly resonates and you sat up straight in your chair or you began to hammer your fist on the pulpit. I don't know. But whoever you're working for now or that you've been working for the last couple of years, do those people invest in you? That is, have you continued to learn anything about what you're doing or what they want you to do at their expense? It's a big question. And if they do you think they will continue to do that? Because if they are, it's free education. Not only is it free education, but you're being paid to learn. That's priceless. Does your boss trust you? Does he trust your decisions? Does he trust your scheduling? Does he trust your interaction with Does your boss trust you? If he does, then don't be in too big a hurry to run away from that guy or that woman or that organization. If they don't, you need to ask yourself, why don't they trust me? Because the answer to that question bears directly on whether or not you're ready to go out on your own, right? Do the people that you work for encourage you? Are they the type of people that get satisfaction out of preparing folks from their organization to go out on their own? Do they encourage that? If they do, don't be in a hurry to leave them, because it's another example of education that you might be getting paid to receive that on your own is super expensive, maybe. So do they encourage you in the things that you do and in the plans that you make? Or do the people that you work for infuriate you? Is there a constant drumbeat of resentment and feeling unappreciated and misunderstood and picked on? If there is that, have some honest self-assessment and say, why? Why is that? Is my assessment of what I bring to the table so flawed, or is theirs? What is there about this situation that infuriates me? And is my fury pushing me too hard to jump? Two more on this tack, and then we'll talk about timing for what you're going to do. Does the company that you work for explain their priorities to you? Do you know what's important to them, to him, to her, to them? Do you know which things are first and which things are second and why? And are you able to function inside of that set of priorities? And then the last one, do they pay you all right? Put the brakes on. I didn't ask you if they pay you everything that you want or if they pay you what you think you're worth, but do they pay you well? All right, now setting all of this aside for just a minute, and assuming that you have sufficient self-awareness to get honest and complete answers to these questions, now you have to ask yourself, is this a reasonable time for me to jump? All right, now, self-awareness. And before I jump away from these, if you've jotted these down, and I suggest that you do, find somebody that you can ask each one of these questions about yourself. How do you see me in my job relative to that? How am I with uncertainty? Have I learned how to hang on to money? These questions. Ask somebody, maybe your boss, about, have they been comfortable investing in you? Do they trust you? Do they see you as someone they should encourage to go? Ask someone whose opinion is objective about the answers to these questions before you're sure you understand your own reality. because none of us understand our own reality. And if we are lucky, we all have someone on the outside looking in who has a better handle on what's really going on for us, maybe, than we do. But the big question is, would this be a time that you could survive a huge paradigm shift? What are your finances like at home? Are your kids, do you have kids? Do you have kids coming? Are you coming off a long dry spell where there just hasn't been enough money and there hasn't been enough security and there hasn't been enough of anything, and you're thinking that self-employment is going to be the way to make more money? Wrong, wrong, wrong. Self-employment is not the way to solve your immediate financial problems. I think we mentioned that last time. Self-employment is the opportunity to step forward from a position of relative stability. If you've got things pretty much under control, and if you really know how to do something, and do something pretty well, and there's a list of people that you could call up and say, hey, I'm out on my own now, so if you run across work like X, Y, or Z, give me a chance. If that's lined up, and if you're ready to deal with some uncertainty, heck, why not? Why not? You better be sure that you're current on your taxes. The people whose lives end up in turmoil are the people who get behind on taxes. Taxes never sleep. And once you're behind on taxes, it is essentially impossible to make enough money for a long enough period of time to heal up what you missed out on and keep up on what you're qualified and have to pay now, currently. So you have to be current on your taxes, you have to be current on your bills, your transportation has to be reliable, and your wife has to be 100% behind you. So before I bounce off the tax thing, people who are working in the trades don't have any idea how much money it costs just to be in business. They don't have any idea about something like estimated quarterly tax payments. They don't have any idea about the additional burden of associated payroll taxes on employees and how merciless the IRS is if you get behind or are not absolutely squeaky clean on all of the taxes that need to be withheld on your employees. It's easy for us to think, well, I'll just take a leap of faith because I can run fast, I can work hard, I want to do good work, I know people who say that I'm a good hand, I think I can do it. Well, maybe you can, but high hopes is not a good strategy. Okay, high hopes are a good place to start, but there has to be substance to your high hopes. There has to be the type of substance that comes when you know, yeah, I can be to work on time. The substance that comes when you know, yes, I know people that I can call who will handle the aspects of trades that I'm not expert at. There has to be accounts set up at rental yards. You need to talk to your lumber yard and say, hey, I'm going out on my own. What kind of a credit limit can I have? It is jumping into a bathtub of ice water when you need this amount of money to secure the material to start a job, and nobody wants to give you that money, and you don't have that money, but the job needs to be started. And so now you want to charge somebody up front, and man, it's easy to get into a jam. Talk to your concrete supplier. What's my credit limit? Talk to your excavator. Say, hey, if I use you on this job, can you wait? You follow me? Nothing is obvious, nothing is easy. So wrapping this up, you've been patient, you've been here, you've been thinking about this a long time, and you've probably already made up your mind what you're going to do anyway. But I'll just tell you that coming into winter is a lousy time to start a new business. It's just a lousy time to start a new business, depending on what the business is. Coming into spring is pretty good, at least around here. But I mean, that has its own pitfalls too. I mean, weather's unpredictable, and building permits, it might take you too long to get a permit. Heck, I don't know. But think carefully. Someone may think, well, I just need a partner. I need a partner to kind of help me absorb the shock of the highs and the lows. Well, a partner's great, except you don't need a partner that duplicates your skill set. You need a partner who has a different skill set. You might need a partner who is a CPA, who has a real good expectation of how much money it takes to even keep the doors open and the lights on, who knows exactly what estimated quarterly tax payments are like, who, I don't know, you get my point, right? But two guys who know how to frame houses are okay for a while, except if you have the same strengths, it probably means you have the same weaknesses. And one of those is when you get a big check at the end of a job and you're going home, you decide to stop at the sports bar and celebrate. But when you're doing that with your partner, that is a weakness. So I can't tell you whether to jump or not, but I can tell you that don't be in a hurry to quit a lousy boss if the lousy boss just happens to be part of a pretty good job. And on the other hand, if you just can't visualize yourself ever being content with the illusion of security, and that's what a job is the illusion of security. If you can never be content with that, then maybe you are cut from the type of cloth that can learn to function in a relatively insecure environment. And let me tell you what, my friends, construction is a relatively insecure environment with all the opportunities in the world for satisfaction and fulfillment and accomplishment and shipwreck and disappointment and recognition and everything that life consists of. Certainly happens with great regularity in construction, whether you're building it for somebody else or building it for yourself or building it for somebody you never met before who promises they will pay you when you get it done. Be wise, man. Keep your eyes open and determine that whatever else happens, doggone it, at the end of the day, you're going to know you've done some good work. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up that good work.